Okay, from the enemy within, Kirk's good and evil sides are smushed together with some tricky transporter moves. Later on the bridge, Spock makes one of the most sexist comments in all of Star Trek, as he as he suggests to Janice Rand that she might have enjoyed getting roughed up by Kirk's evil side. No way. Gotta change that. So here's the new ending. Bridge. Farrell says, "Status report green." Spock says, "All sections report ready, sir." Kirk says, "Good. Thank you, Mr. Spock, from both of us." "Shall I pass that on to the crew, sir?" "The imposter's back where he belongs. Let's forget him." And Rand says, "Captain, the imposter told me what happened, who he really was, and I'd just like to say that, well, sir, what I'd like is, thank you, yeoman." And then Spock says, "The imposter attacked you, yeoman." But the captain never would. "I know, sir. Thank you. Captain Kirk would never hurt me." "You are correct, yeoman. He has only high regards of you." "Navigator, setting course correction. Helmsman, steady as she goes." Okay, next one is from Galileo 7. On Spock's first command, 2 crewmen are lost to the spear and the bear hug of giant Neanderthaloids. Spock finds the loss of life illogical, and apparently he forgets about the crewmen, because, as everybody knows, dwelling on the past is also illogical. But how does Captain Kirk respond to the news of his dead crewmen? Uhura says, "Captain, transporter room just beamed up 5 persons, alive and well," which left 2 dead, or at the very least stranded. But Captain Kirk merrily orders the Enterprise on its way and then ribs Spock for his irrationality. Illogical writing. So this is how I ended it. Uhura says, "Transporter's locked in, sir." Kirk says, "Activate beams." So our last view inside Galileo has lots of smoke, then transporter beams. Sulu says, "Whatever it was, Captain, it just burned up in the atmosphere." Uhura says, "Captain, transporter room just beamed up 5 persons, alive and well." "Only 5? 5 confirmed survivors." "I'm sorry, Captain." Who is alive and well?" "Mr. Scott, Dr. McCoy, Mr. Spock." Kirk slams his fist on intercom button. "Mr. Spock, to the bridge." He's barking the order. "Spock, to the bridge at once." Uhura. "And Boma and Mears." McCoy coughs on the intercom. "Give him a minute, Jim. We're all suffering from shuttlecraft inhalation." Bones. "I'm taking the survivors to sickbay, Captain. You can grill us after I give our lungs a good scrubbing." Bones, I'm relieved you're alive." "Well, that makes 2 of us. McCoy out." Kirk hunched over his chair's log recorder. "Latimer and Gaetano, dead. I sponsored Latimer's niece for a scholarship to the Academy, and Gaetano was a good man. I wish I'd known him better. My men. How could Spock let that happen? I trusted him." Later, everyone is back on duty. Kirk says, "Mr. Sulu, proceed on course to Machus 3, ahead warp factor 1. "Aye, sir, warp factor 1. "Mr. Spock." "Captain." "There's really something I don't understand about all of this. Maybe you can explain it to me. Logically, of course." "Always, Captain." "You lost 2 of my men." "Gaetano and Latimer. Most regrettable, Captain." "It's more than regrettable. It's the price of command. And command has its consequences." "Of course, Captain." "We will have to see how long it takes for you to regain my confidence in your command abilities." "I understand." "Do you? Do you really understand? You could apologize to me." Spock raises an eyebrow. "I fail to see how that sentiment will resurrect Gaetano and Latimer." "Mr. Spock, you're a stubborn man." "Yes, sir." I don't know. Maybe it's better, maybe it's not. Okay, next one is Mirror, Mirror. Okay, Mirror, Mirror. After Kirk, McCoy, Scott, and Uhura return from the Mirror universe, some light banter and a sexist comment from the captain ends the episode. What happened to the Mirror universe versions of the Kirk, McCoy, Scott, and Uhura? Apparently they disappeared from the brig as our heroes emerged from the transporter. How did that work? Okay, so yeah, that didn't make much sense. So I just changed the ending. Okay, in the turbolift, Spock turns the handle, speaking to the turbolift brig. Kirk says, "What I don't understand is how you were able to identify our counterparts so quickly. It was far easier for you as civilized men to behave like barbarians than it was for them as barbarians to behave like civilized men." I don't know if I'm excited to meet myself or not, barbarian or not. I'm not. What's the point, Jim? The computer told us what kind of men we were in that other universe. I'm not even sure if it's psychologically advisable for us to face our counterparts. Well, what worried me was the easy way Spock's counterpart fitted into that other universe. I always thought Spock was a bit of a pirate at heart. Indeed, Captain. May I point out that I have had the opportunity to observe your counterparts here quite closely. They are brutal, savage, unprincipled, uncivilized, treacherous, in every way splendid examples of Homo sapiens, the very flower of humanity. I find them quite refreshing. The turbolift doors open. Kirk, Spock, McCoy exit the lift and walk briskly down the hallway to a door marked brig. From inside can be heard savage yelling. Kirk to his counterpart, "You're still here. What trickery is this? You still haven't figured out what's happened to you, have you? I don't know who you are, but for taking my face, I will carve your own." Kirk turns to Spock. "Maybe we should keep them around." Spock says, an intriguing concept. You mean just hold them down here in the brig instead of sending them home? That could be very useful. Spock nods. Indeed, the possibilities are most fascinating. Mirror Kirk. As captain of the ISS Enterprise, I demand you release us immediately. Kirk says, "We're not on your ship." Kirk, Spock, and McCoy leave the prisoners from another universe inside the brig. All right, and the last one is for the last episode of the original series, the episode Turnabout, Intruder, which is probably by far the most sexist episode. Okay, so we're in the brig, and Kirk says, "To prevent further conspiracy, you will be removed to separate cells. If there's any resistance, you'll be given a sedative until you learn cooperation. Dr. Lester will be first. Follow Dr. Coleman." Janice steps out into the corridor. Spock says, "May I point out, Captain?" Janice struggles with Coleman. "Kill him! Kill him!" And then Kirk goes into another convulsion. The rest of the prisoners stroll into the corridor as the transfer undoes itself. Janice says, "Oh, I've lost to the captain. I've lost to James Kirk. I want you dead. I want you dead. I want you dead. Oh, I'm never going to be the captain. Never. Kill him." She goes to Coleman's arms to weep. Coleman says, You are as I loved you." Janice says, "Kill him." Kirk says, "Can you do anything for her?" Coleman says, "I'd like to take care of her." McCoy says, "Of course. Come with me." Kirk says, "I didn't want to destroy her." Spock says, "I'm sure we all understand that, Captain." And Kirk says, "Command of a starship should be based on merit, not the sex of the officer. Dr. Janice Lester might have made captain if she had attended Starfleet Academy, but she chose another path. She could have been the captain, if only. If only." I don't know if it's any better or not. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed those 4 fixes or whatever. 4 alternate endings. All right. This is Day Star Trek signing off.